Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be making Bob's Burgers and also the vacant lot or vacant building next to him, just to fill in the lot and make it so that the street at the very end ends up looking more like it does in the cartoon. I'm also going to end up doing Jimmy Pesto's side of the street with an Italian restaurant over there. This is my first time building with restaurants and my first time playing restaurants because I just got the pack. It was like when there was the big sale on console. I went and I got a bundle of restaurants get to work, and I forget. I think it was Cool Kitchen stuff. I think that was the bundle. I do actually like some of the stuff from Cool Kitchens. Like I always feel like the stuff pack that's like tacked on, and it's always like, what is this? But it was good. So anyway, I am sort of just trying to figure out the sizing for the restaurant because I originally thought that it should really only be like 8 tiles across, but that was just like way too small to have the entire restaurant and then their entire upstairs house. But I was basing that just off of like the window placement and door placement on the front of the building. So I edited that a little bit just to accommodate what you need to have on the inside. Now, the great thing about Bob's Burgers is they are for a cartoon, they are like one of the most consistent with their layouts. So doing the interior was actually pretty easy because people have drawn out the interior of the build before, and where things are in relationship to each other is very, very consistent. Most cartoons are not this consistent. Now, when I went and did Mort's, that obviously they only show like 3-4 parts of Mort's building, so that one was a little more tricky because I had to do a little more guesswork. And then with Jimmy Pesto's, the only part of Jimmy Pesto's that you really see is the restaurant downstairs. You don't see the apartments upstairs. Also, his building is 3 stories, but I'll get to that when we do that video. So this one, right now I'm just sort of trying to figure out like how wide I can make it and have it still kind of look right, and how long I can make it, because you can really make it as long as the lot allows you to make it, just because you only really see it from the front and you don't really see how deep the blocks are. So I'm kind of playing with the space mostly and how much longer I can make it, but that means I have to shrink up the alley quite a bit. I do still fit in a dumpster in the back alley, but it is a very narrow, cramped alley. It's not like an alley that you could actually drive down. So that's a little bit of a departure from the show. I had a really hard time with the living room just because the only color red carpet that we have in the game is such a bright red, and they have like a muted kind of faded red. Like it is red, but it's not quite like this level of red. So I was really struggling. I was struggling with the colors. Also, their chair in there is purple, and the red and the purple, I was just like not having it. So I spent quite a bit of time in their living room. But I do really like this build. One of the reasons I really like it is because it is an old Victorian brick building. And it's a commercial building, so it's flat topped, which is sort of a common convention. Most residential buildings are gabled and commercial buildings will be flat roofed for various reasons. Mostly it started off as like it was more cost effective to have flat roofs after the advent of tar papering roofs, so during the Industrial Revolution. But then it became sort of the standard for what a commercial building should look like. It also has the added benefit of it doesn't like drop snow on you, which when you're on a commercial street with lots of pedestrians all the time, that is something that you do need to worry about because, yeah, dropping piles of snow on people can quite seriously injure them and then you'll be liable. But yeah. So having that bumped out window on the upper floor is very sort of iconically part of Bob's Burgers, and it's so ornately decorated in that very traditional Victorian style. And when I say Victorian style, I should really say American Victorian. So it's part of the Gothic revival, but it's really more specifically the American brand of that. So now the kitchen, they have their like dining room in the kitchen, and that gave me so much trouble because when I went to go play it, as a restaurant, they can't just eat their breakfast and sit at the table up there. And then that table was counting as one of the dining tables, but I had closed the door and like locked it for everyone but family members. So then the waitresses are like, I can't get up to the table that I'm supposed to take the people to. But it's just awful. So I end up doing some weird workarounds, which you'll see at the very end of the video. But yeah, I did like that table in there originally. It's just with this lot being a restaurant and having them live in the apartment above it, some things don't work the way that they would in a normal residential lot, which can get a little bit annoying. What are you gonna do? And then playing with because they have actually a green bedspread, but that bed that I chose there has like the most accurate frame. And this is always like the dilemma in The Sims. Do you go with the color or do you go with the form? And so try to find like one of the bedspreads that looked kind of close to theirs. Like their bedspread is a little bit darker, and then just trying to figure out like the colors in the room. Like their room looks pretty awful. Like I'm not gonna lie. They put like, and that's kind of a fun thing to think about when you're making builds from cartoons. It's like the psychology of the space and how the artist designed it. And what's it saying about the characters? Like, there is very little effort put into Linda and Bob's bedroom. And, like, it kind of shows you how, like, little effort and time they put into themselves. Like, they do put a lot of time into, like, the family. So their living room is actually, like, yeah, they have a really bad couch. But, like, they've put a lot of time and energy into it. And the kids' rooms, except for Jean's room is a little bit sad. Like middle child, a bit forgotten. And yeah, Louise's room is like in an actual closet, but it's so decked out with all of her stuff. They've put a lot of time and energy and effort into Louise, and her room has been painted. Tina's room is obviously the one that has had the most time, energy, and effort put into it. It's like pink. The walls are all pink. The carpet has been changed to pink. She's the only room in the house that has pink carpet. All of her like furniture is sort of matching in pink. I mean, she was their first kiddo, and there's kind of a gap between her and Jean, so I just feel like they kind of went all out with Tina, and then Jean came along and they were a bit tired, but they also haven't updated her room. I mean, I guess she likes pink. She's not exactly a girly girl, but I don't know. The room suits her, but also it doesn't really seem like a teenager's room at the same time. Like it was decorated when she was a baby, and then she's accumulated stuff as she's got along. But yeah, I don't know. It's just funny. It was like decorated for like their little princess. It just feels really authentic to how like life would be. And then Louise, like, I feel like they're kind of making it up to her. They're like, we don't actually have room for a third child, but it will be fine. Sorry, I'm just like bouncing back and forth a little bit between their two rooms as I clutter, because I'm like, oh wait, I should add this thing, because I'm looking for horses. I'm just looking for all of the hot horses that I can find to put into Tina's room. And then every now and again I find like a random thing that I'm like, oh, this is like a monster. It could go in Louise's room. A cute monster, Louise's. So there are not as many horse things as one would hope when decorating Tina's room. Like there's not even a horse poster. There's 0 horse posters. Very disappointing. Anyway, I feel like maybe they painted the walls in Jean's room at some point, but his room also looks kind of like the standard sort of like faded yellow, like, I don't know, wallpaper or paint with like the trim that they have elsewhere in the house. Yeah, here we are in Jean's room. But his bed and his nightstand do match, so those were probably bought at like a furniture sale. I think they often sell like the matching bed set nightstand thing in like a deal. Now we're on to the outside and how to make it so pretty. I did really like the door that has the open close sign, but it's just really short. I think I end up going with a different one. And I did, thinking about like the shape of the entire thing and how the proportions work, like it is a cartoon and they do sort of shrink it on the outside a tiny bit to the dimensions on the inside, so it is significantly narrower on the outside in the cartoon than it is on the inside in the cartoon. And so to compensate for that, I'm trying to make it look narrower by making all of the floors much taller. So, and then here working on the false front. False fronts are kind of an interesting thing that started in the West and mostly in the West of America, but then it became like a thing everywhere in America. But it's like an American thing. Western false fronts on commercial buildings. So flat-topped commercial buildings became a thing in the early 1900s, and then sometimes in some places they didn't have like the technology to actually make it a flat top because they just didn't have the labor or the skilled labor to make it happen, or they didn't have the right supplies or materials. So they started building up walls on the front of their buildings that were street facing to cover up the fact that they actually had a gabled roof behind it. And then over time, that false front just became part of the, like, an architectural element that people liked and then just started doing kind of regardless. But it also ended up serving the purpose of helping to hide anything that you would have on your rooftop. So if you had a water tower up there or your AC units, that's all sort of hidden by the false front that's on the front bit of the building. Trying to figure out how to make that happen. And then I'm pretty sure that their building is like a painted brick building. So I found some painted green brick, which I really liked. And then just the most obnoxious and loud colored trim I could find. I actually ended up using the trim from university. So, and then just figuring out the lighting and their sign. I think it turned out pretty good. I like it a lot. And I did the other building off screen, but it's just empty and gross and abandoned because after I think the first episode, it goes out of business and then it just changes hands continuously. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. And I did end up downloading a family from the gallery to player test everything. And I did run them through a couple days at the restaurant, and they were bad at it. They're really bad restaurant owners. I didn't really understand how restaurants worked either, so that's probably partially my bad. I'll show them in a second. I'm just going through and showing you comparisons between the cartoon and how the build turned out. I'm pretty happy with it. Gene's room, he's pretty messy. I didn't make his room as messy as he is. And that is the whole thing. Linda in the kitchen. These are the Belchers I downloaded from Kendall Hayward. I really love them. They're very cute. They're very well done. And yeah, that's how our restaurant did on the first day. Very, very bad. We lost money. Oh, this was my workaround. I set chairs around a campfire. I thought they wouldn't light it, but then they did. Oh my gosh. But they're cute. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will probably do some more Bob's Burgers, trying to figure out how the mechanics of this work. Hope you have a great day. Bye.